savior. Bleach me to dust, let darkness take this over. Unveil the sorry, death and strawberry. The bravest, the only will to believe. Calling me, the shrieking alone. Ghost inside of me, hauntingly hypnotize me. Chasing lights into the night, through black and white. This blade right by my side, there's nothing I've left to lose. I owe this life to you.
And hello everyone, welcome to my third Hellish Quart competitive tourney this year. I've done some other tournaments before, but this is like the first the third truly competitive regular tournament, double elimination type of deal. So since we have 9 people, I didn't think we would do a round robin. We totally could, I think. It would still work, but it would just go a little bit too long, so I think we'll do double elimination, so that means we'll do 7 flags, best of 3. You guys know the drill with that. And we'll get started right away. We've got Piper against Queek. We're really happy to see Queek competing again. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly. I assume I am. And I'll get into commentator chat as well. We'll just call it Tourney. We don't need to call it anything complicated. For those who aren't aware, that's just so that you can listen to me without having the stream in the background and sort of taking up that extra bandwidth, because it can lower your performance, especially if your internet's kind of struggling as it is. Okay, Piper and Queek might not have the role, so let me just make sure he does. That is an easy fix. Eve is joining us in the tournament too. He's not in commentator chat, unfortunately, as he's not in the main server, but he is certainly watching, and I imagine raring to compete. There we go. Competition participant. That's just so I can ping you, Queek. You didn't do anything wrong. You two are up. And you guys know the drill. I typically wait a minute or so for people to connect, and if they don't, we move on, but I'll still give both Piper and Queek plenty of time to join, certainly until we get through all these matches here. I don't mind waiting. And we also have the lower bracket that might help as well with buying some people time who can't show up right away. This is a pretty small double elimination, so it won't take super long, but we do have enough, so it will count for a title as usual. Piper is here. Just says won't be a minute, that's no big deal. I'll give Queek like a minute or two. And then we'll just move on and come back if we need to. Hopefully Queek's around. Yeah, unfortunately he dropped out of the last tournament. Queek, that is, not Piper. But hopefully he feels a bit more confident in his skills this time around. He also had some lag problems though, and that's never ideal. You're new to the game and you're struggling with lag. It's not a good combination. And I know that from experience. When either the host had a problem or I had a problem, and you're new to the game and the issues just compound. It's definitely not the best experience. So I don't blame him for dropping out. Although I do encourage people to avoid doing so if possible. Okay, it's been about a minute, Piper, so I think we'll move on instead of sitting here and waiting. But we'll come back to your fight, and worst case scenario, Piper, you'll just get a free win, so you have nothing to worry about. But we'll try and get through these matches first before we start disqualifying people. And honestly, Piper would probably be pretty happy with that because unfortunately, because of we have an odd number, he has to fight that extra fight. So, but it's not the best way to win. And I didn't put Queek here on purpose, by the way. That was just the randomness at play. There's no rhyme or reason to it. Plebian against Oak now. You two are up since Jihadi has to wait for this first match to be completed to do his fight. And then we've got me against Pekola. So I'll be looking for a little bit of revenge because Pekola's been giving me a lot of trouble. I did well last time, but I just didn't quite beat him. And so that'll be pretty exciting. We're also both North American players. Then Eve against Apostle. I'll message Eve with the Parsec link when that time comes up. And yeah, let's get into the game. My training today was playing a little half sword. I wasn't playing Hellish Quart. So we'll see how that plays out. I'm not really warmed up. Okay. And Plebian, you'll take the left side. For those who are unaware, if you're on top, you get the left side first. That's usually how I do it. And Oakenlex is already on the thing. That's good. That makes things a little bit easier. Everything's off. At least everything that needs to be off. Beautiful. Okay. Zara versus Laszlo. Very interesting matchup. Chernobyl says it's gonna be fun. Sad he can't play, but it'll be fun to watch. Yeah, for sure. Unfortunate you couldn't participate, but I appreciate you being here in the chat, regardless, to show us some of your data wizardry. Plebian's been playing a little bit of Zara, so some people might be surprised by this pick, but I'm actually not. Let me just hide this. Hang on. There we go. So I didn't have to interrupt the flow to do that too much. You're just able to keep fighting. Okay, that's a double. Oak definitely struggling with the reach that Plebian has in this fight. Oh yes, and it's +0 for doubles, so doubles don't count for any points. Yeah, only clean kills will score. Plebian's tired there, and Oak dips under, sniping the arm. Okay, now they're both going sort of back and forth. There's another double. So now they gotta reset and change things up. Otherwise they'll keep doubling like that. There's a stab to the face. And Oak's hit just isn't quite powerful enough to kill Zara. holy stance. Doesn't work. Beautiful from Oak, wrapping around the guard. Very good way of getting past your opponent's defense, especially if Laszlo. And there's the snap cut, immediately punishing the Zwerkow. One of the master strikes, usually intended to meet the opponent's blade. You can defend and attack at the same time, or you can use it as a regular cut as well. But in this case, all it did was present his hand. Very difficult to protect the hand with longsword sometimes. And Zera especially, because he's slower than Isabella, struggles with that. Good push from Oak. Oak is really starting to take control now, playing a really precise Laszlo. But there's a stab from Plebian. I think he's figured out that those thrusts are a very good idea. In general, stabbing Laszlo is a good idea if you can do so without being hit in the head. And you can see he's really trying to use that reach, but Oak is kind of taking advantage of that. He knows his opponent's wavering. He's sort of circling his opponent like a shark, waiting for that opportunity as he smells blood. I say like a shark and not a vulture because his opponent's fighting back. Vultures typically do not like prey who is trying to stab you in the face, but a shark will take combative prey on sometimes. Oh, and that's a hit from Plebian, but Oak is able to take it and get a hit of his own in. So Oak takes it. That was 7-5. So I'd say a pretty disputed fight. Plebian should be happy of how well he did there. Especially for a... I don't know why I can't spell Plebian. Anyway, you guys can switch. Anyway, for our first debut with Zera, I think in an actual competition setting, or certainly one of his first debuts, I think Plebian did really well. So Oak on the left, Plebian on the right. We're not done yet. This is best of 3. Oh yeah, it's all good. Yeah, we're not doing best of 1. Probably necessary to do best of 3 since we have a relatively small number of people. I mean, 9 is perfectly fine for a tournament, don't get me wrong. But it's definitely not anything remarkably big. And you know, it's a Thursday, so those can be kind of hit and miss. Not everybody has time available on Thursday. Okay, back to Zera. Zera went pretty well for him, I would say, actually, so that's not by any means a bad choice. And that stab just fell short. He was so close. I don't blame him for trying it from that spacing. Ooh, another one. And a stab from Oak. Right when he sees the blade go down, he tries it. Usually a bad idea against Zera, but when his body's exposed like that because of low guard, by no means a bad idea. Plebian with a nice retreat cut, though, getting his first flag for this round. And Oak is harassing with those snap cuts. Good spacing to block that first thrust, but that second one connected as Oak lost initiative there. Nice series of cuts. Oak gets run through a little bit, but the stab was kind of awkward. And Oak was able to get a more convincing hit. Like, don't let the decal fool you, of course. Laszlo always gets a horrific looking wound, even if it's a flick cut to the back. That's something that needs to be fixed with Laszlo. Good combination from Oak, but it was just out of measure, and Plebian knew to wait until it was all done, and then go for that stab, making this even again. There's the back Y. Staple Zera move. Good job beating the blade by Plebian. Goes for a a little windmill there, but he doesn't cancel in the back Y or anything, so he's wide open for that riposte. And that's the thing you've got to be careful of Zara. Laszlo does very well, especially up close. Good back Y, though, sniping the arm. Oak has to be careful, or this could be 1-1 overall. Threatening a sidestep, baits his opponent into an attack there. He lands a kick, and a bit of a delayed punish, but Oak keeps the pressure going. And he does get the kill in the end. That was a good bait from Oak with that feint, and Plebian fell for it completely with that stab, which would have punished it if Oak actually followed through with that cut. Nice exchange there. Oak barely avoiding having his hand sniped. There's a stab, but Oak is able to keep the blade clear, and he goes for a back Y, beating it down and taking the hand right off. Another 7-5 score, but that was definitely another disputed round, so GG's, guys. Very good effort. So, Plebian, you're not eliminated. Just a reminder that you are in the loser's bracket, so you will get another shot. And I don't see Queek. Queek hasn't responded at all. So I think we'll continue. And I'll get Pekola in here so we can fight. I'll ping him, like, towards the end, like, after we've done all these fights. And if he's still not here, we'll just go from there. But I'll give him plenty of time. I don't want to rush it too much. Okay, I'll take the left to start us off, it looks like. I can't even spell my own name. At least I'm catching the mistakes. I mean, that's how you would know I'm really tired, if I somehow didn't notice that. Yeah. I slept okay, but I was up at like 3 for a bit, so a little tired. But I've been worse. Of course, Pekola's gonna go with Connor. I'll be probably pretty quiet for this one, but I'll give Barabash a try. Pekola's Connor is very tough to deal with, but I'll have to figure something out with my main. Tough round. Nicely played, Pekola. Alright. Gonna switch sides in just a moment, just switching the names. Alright, GG, Pekola. I actually think Marina's hitbox is much less forgiving. I find Connor easier to hit. Pekola is just very good at keeping you at bay with those attacks. I find Connor is a lot more exposed. Okay, Eve against Apostle now. Don't know if Eve actually has me on his friend list in Parsec, but I'll send him the link regardless. And it looks like this is going to be the last fight that we can do. Well, actually, I guess I could fight again. But that kind of messes things up a little bit if we go against the order. We'll see if Queek is still around, or is around when we're done. Oh, less forgiving for Connor? Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. Okay, let's give Eve a minute, but there's no rush. On is excellent, excellent. All right, we'll just wait until he gets on then. Yeah, I think Eve said he was cooking, so that's all good. Already this tourney's going pretty smoothly, so I don't mind waiting a little bit. Uh, Possible just left. Not sure what's up with that, but Eve's here. Excellent. Eve, Apostle is here and Eve is here. Eve, you're gonna get the left to start us off. And believe it or not, we're almost done round 2, save for that one fight that we're waiting for. I'm gonna see a Yazuk from Apostle. Barabash from Eve, perhaps inspired by my gameplay, or he just felt like it. Tough to say, but this is going to be interesting either way. Eve is very good with Barabash and also very good with Gideon, so I'm excited to see what he can do. Some feinting from Eve early on. There he whiff punishes Apostle. Apostle just slightly out of measure. Oh, and Eve backdashing out of the punch. That was excellent from him, and good patience. Goes for a push just to make sure before executing him after getting tired. Yeah, very good reflexes from Eve to backdash when he's punched like that. That was his only chance of escaping that hit. Goes low. His opponent's being very static, so those leg cuts can often land. It is one way to hit through a Yazuk's guard. But, as we saw, it often doesn't kill. And actually, that specific move often doesn't even disable the legs, so... Often I think you want to hit with both cuts to ensure a kill if you can, but that can be easier said than done. Still, it's a very good harassing move, and I think it gave Eve the initiative that he needed. And again, a feint. That's a rarely used move of Barabash's, but when you see that little magical dust, that's a feint move, and it's very threatening towards the guard, despite being highly telegraphed. A lot of characters have moves like that. Good chop from Eve. So far, very clean. Eve looking like a menace this tournament. His Barabash is at least as good as his Gideon, if not better. Nice feinting with the dash a little bit there. Then going for a snap cut. Again, nice movement, but he does get tagged. Maybe a little overzealous with Barabash's explosive movement, but I don't blame him. That's something Barabash is known for. His ability to move like that. Good leg snipe there. Now that is going to cause his opponent to limp. And that takes out one of Yazuk's tools, too. Yazuk can no longer dash forward and do his dash cuts. He's very static now, which makes it that much easier to harass his guard. Good push from Eve, but he actually gets pushed instead. That was a push attempt that whiffed. I think Barbash's push has low reach, so that's probably what it came down to. Still, Eve with a very solid lead so far. Nice trade. No kill for either of them, though. And there's a chop just to see what his opponent does. And then that quick upcut. Nasty cut from Barabash. And a very fast move that can match. He has its speed. Nice backdashing the push. Even if it landed, he would have been able to backdash out of it. So, very good reflexes from Eve again. Even if it was preemptive, that was still really well done. I'm really excited to fight Eve with how he's performing right now. Good hit from Eve. Now he's just applying maximum pressure, but he doesn't want to overextend. Yes, he goes for that quick sweeping cut, which is probably a good way to use it as a sort of finishing move after landing a more substantial attack. So I'll just switch the names, guys. Hang on. All right, go ahead. Eve gonna stick with Barabash. Marie, was it? No, going to Laszlo. That makes more sense from Apostle. Okay. I was gonna say Marie is a questionable pick. She's a questionable pick against just about anybody, to be fair, but I think especially against Barabash. But we've known Apostle to play Laszlo before, so I totally believe he just misclicked. It happens to the best of us. That was a good belly lunge to start off. Eve with some sniping attempts there. Eve says, I can belly lunge as well. Goes low, but doesn't actually connect, it looks like. Possible getting a bit lucky there, and then Eve is punished on the sidestep. Laszlo's also pretty fast and is able to catch him before he can actually complete that sidestep. It's a good move even against Laszlo, but you just gotta be so careful. And there, it almost looked like Eve had it, but he did take a hit. Nice sidestep coming out around the other way. Eve likes that one as well, and it works pretty well. No kill, and that's another double. Laszlo hits pretty hard. Another hand for Apostle. So far, really good Laszlo from him. Provoking with some attacks there, just out of measure. Eve trying to punish, that was very close. Very good try from Eve. The spacing was right, his opponent's guard was just up. Chop attempt and almost gets punished for that, with that upcut. Series of cuts, Eve going for an upcut of his own, doesn't work, gets punched, but backs away from the stab just in time. Sidestep attempt, his opponent's ready. A lot of pressure, but Eve is very good in these situations, and he does manage to score a flag. Yeah, Eve is back in competing in tournaments. And that was a good hit, and a belly lunge. Although it hits the hand, not the belly in this case, but it was still a really good move from Eve. The post-Harambe timeline Pekola says we're in. Nice belly lunge, and then a series of cuts from Eve. Yeah, Apostle can play a lot of people, actually. So, really good Laszlo, I would say, overall. But Eve, sort of evening up the score. And now it's not looking so clear for Apostle this round, even though he did score a nice flag just now. Testing each other a bit, that belly lunge and then an upcut right after. Eve is so good at following up those quick hits. Which in this matchup especially, you really need to do that. Eve is going for some combination, I think the sidestep and the snap cut. But he is immediately punished for that. Belly lunge is barely blocked. Eve is able to block the riposte as well. A bit of a feint from Eve. Doesn't land. Apostle being patient. There's the hula hey, another feint that Barbash can do. Eve is doing a nice series of both manual feints and feint moves, which are two different things. Trying to keep his opponent guessing. From talking with Eve, he definitely loves the feint game that Barbash has. So he tries to make full use of it here, and that might have been a misinput, but it looked like he was going for a Thunder Punch. It could have been a misinput, though. Yeah, I don't think he wanted to do that. And there's a cut from Apostle, making it 1-1. And now we're going to switch sides again. It's coming down to the final round. Swap sides. Now the question is if Eve will switch it up or if he'll stick with Barbash. Has a bit of a decision to make. Apostle thinking of potentially switching as well, maybe. But I think he's going to stick with what worked. Now, Eve might have just been contemplating Yon just now because of the corkscrew and the stabs. But I bet you he was just now thinking that Calc has the same thing. Well, it's not the same moves. I would say the corkscrew and the low thrust are potentially more threatening, actually, than what Calc has. But Eve is much better with Calc, so I don't think Calc is a bad pick by any means. And he does get more reach with that straight blade, so there are some advantages to picking Calc over Yon in this case. Going for a stab, but it is blocked. Good footsies from Apostle. That side step there would have landed if his opponent was just literally a half step closer. We haven't seen a Calc in a while. I feel like a lot of people have moved to Yon or moved to some other characters after Calc briefly became popular again. But there's a nice stab from Eve. You can see Eve is deliberately switching legs. He actually likes using both of his stances, it looks like. Trying to cut to the side there for the Laszlo's arm. It's a nice opening that he aims for, and there that sidestep lands this time. Has new characters wearing. He's definitely competitive, but he's by no means overpowered. Pekola has mained him, but so far nobody else really has, besides, I guess, Jihadi a little bit. But Jihadi even he gravitated towards Marina, actually, not Connor, so definitely viable, but by no means the best character or anything like that. Alright, upcut there. Thrust attempt and a series of cuts to follow it up from Eve. Nice combination. Very good switch made from Eve to Calc, I have to say. As I say that, he does get struck there by Laszlo, which isn't good. He does have a stamina problems, but he uses every last bit of it potentially there to get those two hits after the push and the dash. Series of cuts into a stab from Eve, and then the retreat cut. Beautiful sequence. Apostle thought it was his turn, but Eve just kept cutting. Sidestep stab, I should say, and then wow, nice adjustment from Eve. He went for a kick, and I think he canceled his downward cut to do something aimed at Laszlo's opening. It might have been it could have been a panic move too, but I suspect he was aiming for a better follow-up with that cancel into upcut. Glad to see you in the chat, Buko, as well. Oh, nice counter thrust there. As his opponent comes in for a cut, he catches it with the basket and then goes for a stab. Using the strong of the blade, and Eve with a very convincing victory with Calc. Nicely done. And Apostle is in the loser's bracket, but he played very well. He got that one win and definitely forced Eve, I think, to switch characters, so that's commendable. Okay, and that leaves us with, I don't think I'll make Eve fight twice if I don't have to, so I'll give you a little bit of a break, Eve. It's just that we gotta get this Piper and Queek situation sorted out. Let me just see if Queek has pinged me. Oh, I got pinged in a different server. Alright, I'll give him one last ping, I think. Yeah. Yeah, that was quite a pun. I'll give him a little bit to respond. I mean, I could probably, if he comes back later, I could probably reverse the decision, but it's a little inconvenient. So, I know Eve is absolutely willing to fight again, but I think I'll have Piper fight Jihadi first, just so we complete round 2. Yeah, we might need a replacement, actually, Koala. And I'm sure Piper would be more than happy to fight you as well, so. Alright, let me look at participants here. I'm not getting a ping from him, so. Oh, Koala can't? Okay. No worries, Koala. No worries. Actually, he's thinking about it. Such a troll. Well, it's now or never because we gotta disqualify Queek. So this will be the last call for replacements. I'll ping you as well if you didn't hear that. I know you're like Volblut Koala or something, but Volblut Koala, my bad, because he's German. But I don't know what his exact username is, so. And I need it to replace him directly in the tournament. Nice. I think that's what it is. That looks familiar. I can dig it up. Probably worst case scenario. But oh, whoops. Okay, I sent you an invite, so you can just accept that whenever you're ready. Okay, Piper is here. Koala is definitely ready to go. Just gotta wait for him to join. And I'll have you fight Jihadi after this, Koala, just because you're in round 1, but there's only one fight because everybody else got a buy essentially because of oh yeah, authentication. No, it's no problem. It's no problem. We can wait. Happens to the best of us. Even if you're active, that can still happen. So forgot his password. And that happens. And then the winner of the fight between whoever wins this and Jihadi will fight Oak. So there's some tough competitors in the winner's bracket who have made it to round 3. The names that we're seeing here are probably not super surprising to anyone who knows the community well. Very elite players. Pekola could have easily made it here too, as could actually a lot of these competitors, but Pekola's gonna have to claw his way out of the lower bracket. Alright, if it's gonna take a bit longer, Koala, I'm sure Eve is more than happy to fight me, so we can just do that as well while you sort that out. You're in? Awesome. Okay. Can you play it online? So we play through something called Parsec, which is yeah, a third-party app, exactly. Native online is not possible because of technological limitations, but we can play through Parsec, and if the connection is stable, it still works very well. So we can play online that way. Just realized that's off center a bit. Oh well, they'll have to do. I'm not gonna spend ages fixing that up. You can on Discord, so I have a Discord linked in the description. And if you click that link and join our community, you can play over there. And we often do casual matches and as well as tournaments and stuff. You just ping matchmaking and people will get to you. So yeah, it sucks, but it works pretty well. And our Discord is pretty big, so you'll always find somebody ready to fight. Yeah, like I said, it's just the technology doesn't exist for a ragdoll game like this to be made native multiplayer, so I would say controller, but that's a point of contention. Some people prefer keyboard as well, so use whichever you prefer. That's what I would say. before I start a keyboard versus controller war, because a lot of people use either one. The thing with keyboard is you do have to use a keyboard splitter if you want consistent controls regardless of the side, but controller doesn't have that problem. So Piper doing well with Alex so far. Yeah, exactly, differing opinions. So it's just based on what you're familiar with. I use controller personally. Yeah, you can also, if the link doesn't work for whatever reason, you can look us up on Discord itself. There's areas where you can just search for servers, and you'll find us right away. We're the biggest Hellish Quart server. Koala scoring another flag. No, they're not going to add samurai to this because this game takes place in 17th century Poland. So it wouldn't make much sense to add samurai from, like, literally the other side of the world. Because there were no samurai in this place and time, so. But there's a lot of cool warriors that you will not find in any other game. A lot of cool weapons that you won't find in any other game too. So, especially the Nimsha, that's a very new sort of weapon that you don't really see in any other game that I'm aware of, actually. This might be the first one. There might be some other obscure game I'm unaware of, though. A sword from North Africa, so pretty close to Europe. But it often used European blades, believe it or not. And European-style quillons. Scotland is much closer to Poland than Japan is to Poland, and Scottish mercenaries were often in the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, so... We actually have records of that. There were even, like, Scottish families going as far as Russia. Yeah, Russia's not quite that big at this time, though. We're still looking at Muscovy, not Russia as we know it today. But yes, Russia did exist. If you are familiar with Barclay, by the way, he was like one of the Russian commander-in-chiefs. During Napoleon's invasion of Russia, he was fighting for the Russians, but Barclay's not a very Russian name, as you might have gathered. And believe it or not, he was Scottish. So that gives perspective as to how far Scottish people went. And he was very aware of that too. His family had settled in Russia in the 17th century. Mongol warrior, that's totally possible. There wasn't a Mongol empire the way we think of it now, but there were Tartars of various sorts, so definitely nomads are possible, and some of these, like Marina is actually pretty close to that sort of area, and there's some Cossacks as well in this game, so yeah, Tartars totally possible. They were in the area. We're in like eastern Poland, so that would make total sense. Bagration, same thing. Yeah, he actually wasn't Russian either. He was what? Georgian, technically. Although I think he saw himself as being more Russian than Barclay did. Just because of the proximity and how long his family's been there, but absolutely he wasn't Russian either. There were a lot of Germans in the Russian court as well. When was the Mongol invasion? That's the 13th century, so that's centuries ago from this game. This game is more in the early modern period, so much further in history. Think like 30 Years War type time period in the 1600s. The nobles of Europe intermingled hugely. Absolutely, yeah. Even World War I is basically a big family feud. If you actually think about where the different rulers come from, they all come from the same family. The same German household. Anyway, Koala's doing amazing with Marie. Sorry we're going on a bunch of tangents about history. I could go on about this for hours, but... like, doing this well against Alexander with Marie is pretty impressive. Napoleon was a freak? Yeah, absolutely. Don't get me wrong though, by the way, samurai are cool. I'm not disputing that. I think Kubel did talk about maybe a DLC that takes place in Japan or something, but I wouldn't count on it, personally. And that would be like years and years and years down the road if it does happen. Certainly won't happen anytime soon. If ever. Alexander the Great? Yeah, he went a little crazy towards the end of his campaign. One moment, guys. Let me just switch sides. Alright, sorry about that, guys. You can go anytime. I realize the names still look off. But oh well. I'll figure something out. I'll just drag it over a bit more. Samurai didn't really use katana as their main weapon. Yeah, especially in war, they would have used spears and guns, bows, that type of thing. Naganatas, polearms, yeah. In daily life, though, I would say they carried katanas a lot, and they were a secondary weapon. In the period of this game, they would have just switched to using the katana primarily. The Edo period katana. In earlier periods, they used the tachi and the longer versions of the katana, but weapon blade regulations resulted in the short katana that we're familiar with today for self-defense and whatnot. Typically carried with the wakizashi as well. But yeah, absolutely. If the samurai was expecting a fight, they would typically use something more effective as the main weapon. Better axe character. Yeah, some people have been talking about that. The concern obviously is balance, but it would be pretty cool. Anyway, I'm gonna try and focus on the fight. I know I said that earlier, but Koala's gone with Isabella, and Piper has gone with Martha. Good question. So this would be the Edo period, the early Edo period. The Sengoku period, depending on who you ask, ends in exactly 1600 or a little bit after in 1603, thereabouts. Rapiers were a bit out of fashion at this time, at Napoleon's time, I should say. And this time, rapiers were popular, of course, but Napoleon would have carried a saber, actually. And it was based on a Mamluk saber. At least the one that he favored the most. And, wow, this is down to the last flag as we speak here. Yendrick mains, yeah, not a lot of them. I think he's just very unreliable. Koala holding long guard as Piper's doing the classic sidestep spam that is associated with Marta. Koala now doing a bit of blade away, he's taunting. He says, "You're not gonna hit me." Piper's gonna find a way around that long guard, otherwise he's gonna get beat, or he's gonna run out of stamina. Which Koala might be counting on so he can humiliate him a little bit. Koala's a little bit of a troll. Probably won't happen because Musashi wasn't at this place in time, but... we'll see. Just keep in mind, this game is, like Kingdom Come Deliverance, it's focused on Europe, so... and the surrounding sort of areas. But especially, like, obviously Poland. And then, wow, actually, Piper wins it against Isabella. Marta is a very tough character now, so not super surprising. But I would say a lot of people would favor Isabella still, so kudos to Piper for making that work. And technically you're up next again, Koala, but I'm not going to make you fight twice in a row. I think we'll get even here, and we'll do our fight. Oh yes, can't ping him, I gotta... link should still be valid, so go ahead and click it, Eve. Yeah, you can use your offhand to push, grab, all that sort of stuff. You can punch, actually, too. If you're close enough and you're too close to throw a cut, your character will do a punch instead, oftentimes. Okay, I'm gonna get the left. Okay, that looks a little better. I just adjusted the names, too. There's probably a way to just center them, but I'm not gonna mess too much with that right now. Alright, good luck, Eve. This will be a pretty tough fight, I think, for both of us. There's an example of a grab. Everybody has different grab executions. Okay, switch sides. Yeah, but people weren't going from Japan to Siberia, right? That just wasn't happening at the time, especially in the period of isolation, so. There were some pirates going to China, but even that was illegal because Japan had a whole policy of isolation. So, and you'd be traveling in the middle of nowhere for who knows how long to get to Poland, so it just didn't happen. Although Russia did start trade with Japan, or at least they tried to a little bit later in the 1800s. But that's centuries later. People in the chat trying to distract me with historical talk. All good though. Yeah, to Beijing, absolutely. But it just didn't happen the other way. More money to be made being a pirate or a Ronin serving the Macau and China or something like that. And even then, most people stayed in Japan of the whole policy of isolation and the fact that the Japanese generally viewed people outside of Japan as barbarians, so it was not really desirable unless you were a criminal of some kind. Alright, good fight, Eve. Was glad to get a chance to fight your Barabash head to head. But like I said, this is double elimination, so you're by no means eliminated. Alright, let's get Jihadi against Piper now. Yeah, good fight, Eve. And after this fight, we'll head to the loser's bracket, and we'll get through some of these fights. Loser bracket round 2 should be completed by the time this is over, so. Alright, awesome. Let me just double check. Yeah, so Jihadi, you'll start on the left. Jihadi on the left, yeah, Piper on the right. Big cuts from Piper, giving him another point there. Alexander's a very good pick in this matchup, so Jihadi has his work cut out for him. And Piper likes going for pushes too, and grabs. Good sidestep though from Jihadi. Some preemptive attacks. Piper going for a nice push and then a combination. Push attempt. Piper just beats the blade down, keeps going. He went for a stab there, which was a big mistake though. Not a very good move. Oh, and Piper stopped his sidestep, and that allowed Jihadi to hit him right in the face. Now it's even. As I say that, Piper goes ham. Oof, an exchange there, but it's in Jihadi's favor. Piper wasn't ready for that stab, it looks like. He had to sidestep it or beat it down, something like that. Piper went for a stab, it looks like, again. That wasn't a very good move. And that's, yeah, Piper took his chance there immediately to punish it. My student's doing well. Oh, then he dashes in right after I say that. You better not have been trying the jump there, Piper. Awful idea. Obviously, I'm pulling his leg. Same picks, it looks like. Good blade beat from Piper. That nice head bob, getting to the side, landing a nice hit. Nice. From Jihadi, staying in the fight. Piper threatening a sidestep. Jihadi does one of his own, but unfavorable trade. just cut right across the head there. And Jihadi opens himself up. Piper taking the opening right there. And it's down to the final round. So it's an Alex mirror, which is pretty exciting. Jihadi not liking the previous matchup. Jump from Jihadi, actually. Piper's the one who punishes him for jumping. This is Hellish Quart. It's a realistic sword fighting game based on HEMA sources and whatnot from the 17th century. It takes place in Poland specifically. So a lot of saber fighting, some longsword, rapier, even an axe characters in the game. A lot of fun. If you want to join us on Discord and try it out, just click the link in the description or look us up on Discord and you'll find it. Nice. Piper takes it. And that completes round 2. So we'll head down to the loser's bracket. Apostle versus Koala now. I don't see how you were spamming push, but whatever. You know what I say, if you are falling victim to spam, you are spamming a mistake, regardless. Okay, Apostle is here, just waiting for Koala. Hey, Koala's here, beautiful. And Apostle, you'll take the left side. Again, same number of flags and rounds. So you get some chances here. You don't lose the whole thing if you lose one round. Cubo Sage Wisdom. Good sidestep there from Koala, who decided to go with Zera, one of his classic picks. And a grab from Koala. Koala's good at that type of thing, just getting in your head. As we said before, he's a bit of a troll, and he takes pride in that, but that's part of the fun. That's his style. He loves dashing too, as we can see. Gotta watch that stamina. Grab attempt from Koala, but backs away, landing a swing. A lot of dashing with Zera, and he's actually getting away with it so far. He gets away with that as well. Beautiful. He's really throwing his opponent off, because most Zera players don't do this. Oh, but he gets punished on that whiff there. High recovery move, so he couldn't dash out of it in time. Another grab from Koala. Oh, Apostle tried to grab of his own, but he was too far away. Should have gone for a cut, probably. Back Y from Koala. A push attempt, but there he gets punished with a nice grab from Apostle. You could tell Apostle really wanted to land a grab back on his opponent. Back Y, big swings there from Apostle as they clash swords. Yeah, a lot of grabs this time. All of back Y, hitting the hand as Apostle goes for a push or a grab. Goes in the left foot forward stance now. Koala being stationary. Is he trolling or he's good to go? Yeah. He's apparently good to go. He gave us a long guard, so you're free to hit him or to try hitting him whenever you want, Apostle. Koala will pause the game if there's an actual problem. Yeah, remember guys, just a reminder, if there is an actual problem, be sure to pause the game. Don't just stand there. Just so people aren't confused. Like if you're just lagging a ton. Obviously if there's a little delay, that's one thing, but if you're lagging, that's when you should pause. Koala landing a nice hit of his own. Now he's stationary, and there's a stab. Yeah, his style is really throwing Apostle off completely, and that's what he does. Leg void, but he lands a hit. Now left foot forward stance. Goes in the high guard, tries to get a swing off, but Koala is able to block it. And Koala takes it. Alright, switch sides. No, we're not doing skins like that. Yeah, because that's a mod. Beautiful. Koala going with Samuel, which is a good pick. Not really. Oh, okay. I get what you're saying, yeah. Yeah, they actually are listed as mods still. If you look at the skins, the mod, the little blue mod thing is right there, so they're definitely considered mods. Anyway, stab to the hand. Koala stationary again, gets pushed as a result. Sidestep, nicely done from Apostle. And again, the name placement looks weird. I can't seem to get it in the right place. Oh well. Nice grab there. Ball on his way to winning, going for a snipe to the hand, doesn't quite land. Apostle going forward with that cut. Good snap cut from Koala. Good push. That's a double. Nice snap cut. To the side from Koala, and Koala just needs one more. Going low a bunch of times. There's some side steps from Apostle too. Koala with blade away. But he's ready, yeah. Make no mistake. Nice punch, but doesn't quite follow it up. Snap cut attempt. As Koala wants his opponent to chase him. Blade away. Nice taunting going on, and Samuel's reach keeping him safe. But there goes the hand. Anybody's round now. feint from Koala, then a strike right to the head. Good patience from Koala eventually wins him the match. Thank you for participating, Apostle. Always happy to see you in these tournaments. And hope to see you next time. Plebian against Jihadi now. Okay, they're both here. Plebian on the left, Jihadi on the right. Again, we're in the losers bracket, so people are fighting to avoid elimination. And I'll just mute myself because I'll go AFK, but you guys can get started as soon as you can. And I'll make sure you actually get in the fight before I leave. So Jihadi took it, or did they not switch? What happened? It's pleb, okay. So why didn't you guys switch the first time then? Anyway, thank you for letting me know, and good fight, guys. That was obviously a close one either way. You did switch? Because everyone's saying you didn't switch. Hmm. Anyway, it's not a huge deal. We know who's who now, so we're just very confused because you guys didn't seem to switch the first time. Anyway, we've got it sorted out, so there's no problem. Yeah, it looked like it was a good fight. It's a shame I didn't get a chance to pay full attention to it. Yeah, thanks, Pekola. I appreciate the confirmation. Thank you as well, Oak. Okay, Koala is here. Pekola is here. And Pekola will take the left side. Like I said, Pekola on the left, Koala on the right. There you go. Maybe they just didn't hear the first time. Totally possible. Connor from Pekola. And I'm gonna, unfortunately, I want to commentate this one too, but because this looks really exciting, but I gotta step away for a little bit again. Be right back, guys. I'll just mute myself. You guys can just carry on. Same as I saw that whole last round. Unfortunately, I didn't want to break their flow, so I couldn't commentate that. But that was epic indeed. So Pekola, I assume, took it 2-1. And now I think we will head up actually to the winners bracket, just so we complete the losers bracket for round 3. We'll do Piper against Oak, and then we'll do Eve against Plebian and go from there. Two to 0. Thanks, Pekola. And thank you for competing, Koala. You got eliminated a little bit early, but there was still some epic fights, and the fights in this tournament have been pretty high level, so shouldn't feel too bad about that. Sometimes it's just not your day. Okay, go ahead. Piper on the left, Oak on the right. That's a double. This should be a very epic fight between both of these Saber Masters, but Oak having a lead already. There goes a hand. Oak is very familiar with this matchup. Nice lunge. Oak looking to make this a flawless round. He's definitely got the precision to do that if Piper keeps making mistakes. A good push from Piper, but I don't think he actually intended for that to land. Or expected it to land. So he wasn't able to follow that up. And Oak was quick, too. Oak landing a hit, goes low. Piper now looking tired, but he moves back. And there's a trade, but Piper is already hurt, so. And there's the Vineyard from Oak, making it a flawless victory this round. Yeah, I don't know why it keeps doing that. I thought I had it in a good spot. Yeah, and now they're not level, but I'm not gonna get super concerned about that. Oh, another flag. Piper hasn't even won a flag yet, despite attempting to put up a fight. There's a stab to the leg, a cut to the head there from Oak. Nice combination. Piper's thinking the rapier will make it hard on Laszlo, but Oak is actually very familiar with Laszlo's in and out game, so might not be as easy as he's hoping. That's a double. Nice. Oak still have a convincing lead, but Piper managing to snag another flag. Good back Y from Piper. And a strike there from Oak. Finally sealing the deal, but Piper gave it a good shot there. Piper's still not eliminated, though. By any means. Oak moves on to fight me. That's going to be a classic right there. But let's complete some of these loser bracket rounds. Then we'll head right back up to there. So we won't do Piper against Pekola just yet. We'll give him a break. Let's do Eve versus Plebian. Okay, Eve, you'll be on the left, Plebian on the right. Hit Plebian on the right. Hey, something's going on. Eve on the left, Plebian on the right. And Plebian take the right. There we go. Kalkstein versus Zera. Eve with an early kill right there. The upcut. Yeah, Eve's gonna be looking to play a very solid game against the Zera here. While Plebian's probably gonna be looking to create some chaos. A series of hits from Plebian. Eve landing a hit of his own though. Counter thrust almost lands. Another counter thrust almost landing for Eve. Goes for a stab to the arm, but it doesn't quite land with the Plebian's attack. Plebian needing to watch his stamina though, as you can see, and that's a trade that favors Plebian actually. Nice upcut from Eve, single tempo. Plebian looking for a quick snipe, but it doesn't quite land. Both aiming for each other's hands there. Nice attempts. And that's a double. Thrust attempt, and there it lands. Eve tried something there, getting his point offline as a result. Good upcut though. Nice exchanges. Eve goes low, but gets hit as a result. Very tactical fight. And Eve goes forward and gets a nice kill. Snap cut attempted by Eve, but he doesn't quite get it off the parry. And a nice stab from Plebian. There's a thrust. Eve a bit on the ropes here now that it's equal. Good leg cut. Plebian going ham, but he gets hit himself. That was a good retreat attack from Eve, but he isn't ready for the stab. It's a double. Okay, let me just switch the names. Okay, go ahead. Plebian barely got that win. That was really epic round. Eve with the upcut, securing his first flag this round. Good exchange. Big cut from Plebian, but that horizontal splash from Eve, scoring another flag. Thrust. But Eve backs away, he doesn't want to overextend. The upcut lands nicely. And Eve scores another flag, a nice hit to the head. Good sidestep from Eve. Zera's very vulnerable to those. Beats aside that thrust with a cut of his own, then goes in with a stab. Eve looking for the flawless now after adjusting. A series of attacks from Eve results in a trade. Sidestep, but gets hit. Barely set aside that attack. That was great from Eve, just beating the blade. Goes for a thrust, trying to hit the hand. No dice. Snap cut, no dice. Big attacks from Plebian. Eve's punished just barely out of range. Plebian capitalizes on that. Wow, nice parries from Eve, but I would say he's very much on the back foot. And that thrust slips through. Good cut into thrust from Eve. Bit of an exchange. Yeah, it does deflect it, it looks like. Just picks a nice angle. Here's an attack from Plebian, though. So again, Eve deflecting that thrust preemptively, and that's a double. Oh, but there's a hit. from both of them. Eve a little bit impatient with the counter, and that angle is very good, but he sidesteps that stab and gets a nice cut. Eve needs one more to tie it up. Thrust in the cut. Nicely done from Eve. So 2 flags each so far. Nice upcut from Eve. Thrust in the cut. This is a really intense one for both of them. Whoever loses this round is going to be eliminated. Nice cut combination from Eve, but backs away when he realizes it won't work. Eve tries to push, but he pays for it. Threatening a thrust. Good parry from Eve, but his follow-up just wasn't quite fast enough. Plebian now needing one more to eliminate Eve, which would be a nice achievement for him. Good deflection from Eve, but Plebian just raining down attacks regardless. And he just had the initiative on Eve, so he takes this match. Okay, Piper against Pekola. And then we'll head up to the semifinals in the winner's bracket for my fight against Oak. And believe it or not, we're almost done. Often with longer double eliminations will obviously reduce the flags or reduce the rounds, something like that, to ensure it doesn't take quite as long, but we're able to do the full number of rounds and flags since the numbers are a bit low. So that's really nice. Piper on the left, Pekola on the right. Go ahead, Pekola. Okay, let's try that again. Pekola on the right. Yeah, there you go. Connor against Alexander. Good exchange to start that push, but Pekola is able to back out of it. Still a strike to the leg from Piper. Push again, but again, Pekola pretty quick with the backing out there. The backdash is the way you counter the push. Push, but Piper not quite ready to punish that, and Pekola says I can push too. Bit of an exchange, but Piper quickly gets the better end of that. Pekola scores one. Pekola going for some kind of stab, I think, but he gets hit in the head. Yeah, unstoppable force versus immovable object is a good way to phrase this matchup, especially between these two players in particular and the way they play. Piper goes low, though. Very good idea, this matchup. Piper on the attack again. Both of them push each other, so they cancel. Push from Piper. Push from Piper again. Pekola just unable to back out of all those pushes. He's not ready for them, so he wasn't able to counter them. Their blades clash really nicely there. Nobody got hit. Piper coming around. Pekola blocks the first one, but that second one lands because he exposed himself with that dash. Yeah, I don't know why the name keeps doing that. Just switch sides. Because if I adjusted it, it messes it up again, so there's no point. I could just call him Piper or something, and it wouldn't matter. Okay, stab from Pekola. Trying to keep Piper at bay with the rapier, which is a decent idea for sure. Alex very vulnerable to these sorts of moves. We might see a rapier duel after this if Pekola is successful. Another stab. Piper trying to beat the blade down. Gets hit though. There's a nice slash. Piper's just looking to close in as quickly as possible, cover himself ideally, but it's tough with Alex against Marta. Cut to the head from Pekola, instant kill. Piper likes that his opponent's so low money, 100%. And a good stab. And we're down to the last round. Ace of sides, there we go. No, it wouldn't, because it leaves you wide open. And it doesn't do a good job of stunning the opponent. It's pretty weak. It sometimes works as a counter thrust, but it rarely works, I find. Plus, you're locked into the animation, so... These interactions with the rapier, but Pekola just seems way more on point. Piper needs to change something. They clash with cuts as well. There's a nice thrust from Piper. Big cut from Pekola is punished. Point was offline, so that was a perfect opportunity. They both go for a stab, but Piper takes it. Getting a more solid hit. Good play beat from Pekola, but can't quite capitalize. Cut attempt from Piper doesn't land. And another for Piper. Piper has now taken the lead. But there's a stab from Pekola, evening it out again. There's a blade beat. Push attempt, but pays for it. Very risky. Especially out of measure. Pekola trying to stab over the guard, but Piper's able to punish it. Another stab from Piper. No kill though. Cut from Piper in the back Y, but gets beat. Nice defense from Pekola. And a stab to the face. A little awkward, but Pekola did land it. Pekola needs one more. Sidestepping from both of them, resulting in a trade. And that's it. What? What is this? Okay, that was weird. I don't know what that was. Anyway, GG, guys. Some weird thing popped up on the bottom left corner. There's like a second camera or something. Camera settings mode. Okay. Okay, Oak's gonna fight me now. And Oak will take the left. I see, yeah. Okay, 1 second. Let me get rid of this. How to do? So F7 back to normal camera. Okay, we're good. Nice round. Alright, GG Oak. Okay, Plebian against Pekola, then I fight the winner. That was epic. Oh, you that's what happened. I see, Piper. It's okay. You didn't do it intentionally or anything, so all good. It turns out you didn't mess with anything anyway. You just brought up the menu, so it's not like you caused anything to go wrong beyond that, so I don't mind. Pekola takes the left, Plebian takes the right. It would have to be like Venator or me based on like number of wins, but it's as Oak says, it's so tough to say. We have so many good players who could beat anybody as far as the pros go any day. So, like Oak just beat me, for example. I consider him my equal. So, I think statistically I'm the best in North America, but you know, like I said, Pekola's beaten me before though, so it's at the pro level, it's fairly equal oftentimes. Yeah, Asia's tough to say. I don't follow that enough. Yeah, and statistically, Venator's the best for EU, definitely. Venator has the most wins out of everybody, so. Although Venator's pretty humble, he'd tell you he's not the best, but I'd say he is right now. Well, I appreciate that, Oak. But yeah, there's definitely like an argument for Venator even based on skills for best in Europe. Yeah, I agree. If you don't want to focus too much on the stats because sometimes the number of times you've won doesn't tell the whole story. But that's a case where it might well tell the story because Venator's so good. Much like Warden in the past was the best and he was winning left and right. But I'd say it's much more competitive now than it used to be like back in 2021. Yeah, that's a good point. I don't just consider wins on their own. Different guards from both of them. Plebian's been doing very well. Definitely has what it takes to beat Pekola. Goes low, stabs the thigh, big cut, but hits the blade, not the opening. Goes for a push, whiffs the push, but Pekola is so tired. There's a push. Pekola dashes away from the push, though. Pekola or Tau? Yeah. Because Tau consistently gets in like the top 3 regardless of what region he plays in. So, yeah, Tau has to be in the conversation at least. I would say Oak has to be in the conversation too. But I appreciate the shout out though, Eve. Pekola only operates with time ping. Yeah, that is a good point. I mean, in this case, he's in a better region than usual, but honestly, I can't tell the difference. Like, just looking at the way he plays, he doesn't really change it that much based on region, so. Like, if this was Venator's tournament, I could see him playing just like this. In fact, in Tower's event, he was getting some really high, like, really good reaction stabs with Connor. It's crazy. And this fight here is down to the wire, speaking of Pekola. Stamina's probably going to decide it at this point. Pekola with that stab we were just talking about. People often call that one the London now. Venator likes to call it a Roman stab, though, because it kind of reminds him of one of the ways the Romans would use the gladius, and that's stabbing from behind the shield. They also cut as well, though, contrary to popular belief. There's a source that even talks about that, how they would cut limbs off and stuff as well, but yeah, they absolutely stabbed as well. Gladius, like Gladii, I should say, they're actually pretty broad as far as short swords go, so they definitely cut pretty well too. The London's hilarious. Yeah. Yeah. I love how there's a chest opening named the London too, but of course it has nothing to do with with that. And there's one called the English too. Okay, so Plebian using Barabash, probably a good pick. It went pretty well for me when I used him. He's generally good against shields. Pekola of a nice recovery, backdashing out of the blade beat. That's how you gotta do it with him. And again, even on Tao's host, he was reacting just like this. Like, there's no difference. That's the remarkable thing about how Pekola plays. He was making these same high reaction movements to prevent himself from being nailed after being pushed. That might be, but honestly, I think we're seeing a bit of that now, Oak, because Pekola is kind of focusing on one main now. So I'd argue maybe he is starting to just try more and devote himself to mastering one character. He kind of did that with Zera a little bit way back, but not to the extent that he's doing with Connor now. But yeah, I'm definitely with you there. So I think he's done better with Connor than he has historically when he was just doing random picks. Plebian with a nice hit. There's a leg void from Pekola though, getting a hit of his own. There's a push. Plebian doesn't quite attack in time, and Pekola was dashing anyway. Plebian now needs to watch that stamina. They're both trying to snipe each other. Grab attempt by Plebian, but Pekola again backdashing. Trying to harass the guard. Pekola going for that stab, a thrust from Plebian. It's really a cut technically, but you know, he's thrusting forward. You can call it a thrust, in my opinion. Even if the goal is to cut the edge. When he plays Marta, he moves away from that a bit. Yeah. I agree. There's a push, but Pekola again with the backdash. Beautiful. And he keeps up the pressure of those cuts as Plebian goes in for another push. Then again, you don't know how varied her moves are. Yeah, that's a good... I think she has quite a few moves, but there's a certain set of them that are better than the others. Yeah. That might be. Going low. Pekola is now limping. Might be tired as well. There's a Thunder Punch. He got a little overzealous. Thunder Punch is risky against the shield, too. I wouldn't use that, personally. Just so many opportunities for that point, or the edge for that matter, to hit the shield. Big cut. There's a nice sidestep. They've both taken hits. Pekola going with a nice stab to the face. It doesn't work, and there's a delayed leg void. Another nice leg void from Pekola. Goes low. A stab. Very tight game to end. Goes low. Now Plebian's going low. Upcut, going low. Pekola dodges again. Nicely done from Pekola. Plebian's limping, and yet there you go. Pekola set up that stab perfectly. And that's it. Pekola, don't go away. You're fighting me right after this. This is the one time I'll make someone fight immediately. Is Connor immune to pushes? No, he's not. It's that Pekola is reacting with the counter to pushing. So he's backdashing out of it. Anyway. Let's get started. If I were to fight Pekola, I'll just back out and double check. Yes, you're on the left. Oh no, I'm on the left, my bad. Perfect. I almost hit right away somehow. I almost hit slow-mo too, that wouldn't have been good. Thankfully we haven't seen any bugs with that since the fix, so that's good. Okay, this will be tough. I'm gonna have to lock in here because Pekola showed himself to be a very good competitor. Probably be quiet for most of this. Go ahead and switch sides. Right, GG Pekola. And I'm ready when you are, Oak. Let's get this over with. This would be an epic fight again, I'm sure. Excellent, Oak's already joining. You get the left side, of course, Oak. I'm gonna try Barabash to start. Okay, yeah. That wasn't gonna work forever. Well, we got another round to go, Oak. Gosh. I don't know. Yawn might have been a mistake, though. Like, I won, but I felt so out of my element. I'm not sure. I guess we'll see how I feel as to who I'm gonna pick next. Like, it worked. It's just, I felt like I was on the back foot. It was so close. Do I do it? Yeah, I'll give Bara a try. We've established it can work. It's just, Oak is such a tough fighter no matter who you use. See how it goes. That was epic. Yeah, I'm gonna stick with Bara. Objectively, I still think Yon's better, but I just feel way more in my element throwing cuts with Oak than I do trying to do the thrust game. So, let's see if I can win it now. What more can you ask for? We're down to the final round. Whoever wins this wins the whole thing. Let's do it, Oak. Are you not entertained? Exactly. Nobody's talking about our fight in the chat, but I'm sure people are watching. Are you not entertained? Fair enough, Chernobyl. I get it. You're just watching the duel. There's no words. GG Oak. And guys, do not let that score fool you because we were basically doing this to each other the whole time. So it was just Oak's turn to lose by a lot of flags. That's all it was. That was such a close one. Because we were adjusting to each other so well, we know each other well. I still think Yon was a little bit of a mistake, actually, despite the fact that it worked. I think just stick with Bara the whole time today would have been the most optimal way to play. All the same, Oak, GG, you can't really ask for a better fight than that. You gave it your all, and it came down to literally the last round. Not the last flag, but the last round, so. Bar OP, please, nerf. And that's the tournament. I won't keep you guys any longer than I need to, but thank you for coming out. We had a decent performance. We had a lot of good performances, but a decent turnout is what I meant to say. Oakenlicks takes second. Pekola did incredible too, gets third. Let's have a look at the rest of the standings. Plebian got fourth. That's a really good performance for him. Eve got fifth, and Piper also got fifth. Jihadi and Koala tied for seventh, and Apostle got ninth. Just because of the way the numbers worked out, there's no eighth. Anyway, amazing tournament. Some really cool matches, especially my match against Oak was good, but there was that Marie against Connor matchup too. That was Pekola and Koala, I believe. That was really good as well, I thought. So, and that was quite surprising too, because Marie is traditionally thought to be really weak against shields. She's weak against just about anybody, but especially shields. So that was still really cool to see from Koala. Anyway, Venator's hosting 2 tournaments tomorrow, so I hope to see some of you guys there. That'll be exciting. Should be USFC this weekend as well. That'll be amazing as well, I'm sure. I'll be hoping to defend my title there. So stay tuned, guys. Next week I'll do a longsword only tournament as well. So be on the lookout for that. So I think longswords need a little bit of love. So I'll be sure to pump out a tournament for that. Probably Thursday as well, but we'll see. Anyway, I'll see you guys next time. Amazing tournament and good games.